Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an advanced Dungeons and Dragons advice video on McGuffins of Necessity. Every main thing has what's called a MacGuffin, I guess, and they're very prevalent. Every good story has a linchpin, one item, one decision, one event, something that allows the characters the opportunity to become successful. In a story or a drama, the linchpin is totally dependent on the author to write it well. A poorly written linchpin makes the entire thing fall apart. In an adventure story, sometimes that linchpin takes the form of an item necessary to defeat the villain or to win the day. Again, the writing has to be good or the entire thing falls apart. Kind of like that dagger from the Star Wars movie. Hey. In a role-playing game, such linchpins are very common, and they are commonly referred to as MacGuffins. I'm sure other genres call them MacGuffins as well, but since this is an AD&D video, we're going to go with this. Before I get into this, though, if you enjoy my content, it would really help me out a lot if you would hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, share my content on social media, and post a comment or two. Remember, I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. If you enjoy a good book, check out my author page on Amazon. My pen name is H.L. Anderson. You can find all of my books there. I like to think I write good stories that make you think. I wrote a 3-book science fiction Western series called Drifters. I wrote a story about a house in New Orleans where the monsters all hang out. It's called The House Off Farrago Road. I wrote a political fantasy called The Righteous President. And I've got 2 so far. I'm working on the 3rd. The first one is Vanguard 1. The second one is Task Force Terminus. It is futuristic science fiction space warfare. It's a study of humanity from an alien perspective. So I hope you get those, and I hope you enjoy them. Now, MacGuffins of Necessity. There are a plethora of different things you, as a dungeon master, can use in your game as a MacGuffin. It could be a normal physical object, a magic item, a song, a phrase, a magic spell, virtually anything. As a dungeon master, you don't really need to do a lot of writing around said MacGuffin. The MacGuffin performs a function. You need to create the MacGuffin and the purpose and a little justification. That's pretty much it. You don't have to tell the story. Just get it started and let the players tell the story. That part's easy. But as a veteran of many games and campaigns, believe me when I say that when it comes to MacGuffins, details matter. The MacGuffin has to be one of a kind. The item, song, phrase, whatever, cannot serve any other main function in your campaign. If the players learn they have a skeleton key that opens all kinds of doors, you will never be rid of it, and they will use it every chance they get. Once used, the MacGuffin must become useless. The MacGuffin, if it's an item, must be something they will not want to part with, even under the most desperate situation. I told the story in another video of the ornate silver dagger my players acquired in their travels. The dagger was worth a lot, but I didn't realize how broke some of my players were. They sold the dagger when times got hard, and they used the money from that sale to outfit themselves for the game. They used the money for the good of the group, and that was cool, but I didn't realize that it was that dagger that they had sold. That specific one, because there were a number of silver daggers floating around. Later on, when the group was sneaking through the underground tunnels into the bad guy's lair, they ran into a door that was impregnable. They needed that key to open the door, and the dagger was the key. Yeah, by the way, it's also important and imperative that between game sessions, you check out the character sheets to ensure that they still have the MacGuffin. I made that mistake, and that was years of a campaign shot to hell because I didn't keep track of the MacGuffin. That was on me. If they sell it or lose it somehow, you must find a way for them to get it back. This could be a great side mission that kind of links back to the main campaign, but it might be better to not let them lose it in the first place. There are a number of ways to ensure the player characters don't get rid of said item. The best way I can think of is to make the item important to them. Make it a minor magic item that is very useful to the group. The One Ring also served as a ring of invisibility, for example. I had a number of other MacGuffins over the years, but having learned my lesson with the dagger, I made sure they wanted to keep the item. There was an amulet that acted as a +2 item of protection, regardless of what magic armor or whatever other protections they had. They wanted to keep that thing. An amulet, I had another amulet that allowed a wizard to wear and use up to 10 magic rings at the same time, as long as they all had different functions. So he had a ring of protection, he had a ring of spell storing, he had a ring of wizardry, he had, all kinds of different stuff, There was another amulet that granted 25% magic resistance to the wearer. Man, nobody wanted to part with that. They almost didn't want to do the mission for that. They would rather have the amulet, An item that automatically had detect magic or comprehend languages or ESP or some other innocuous little effect that is so useful that a player won't want to part with it. That's probably the best thing. You can't make it too powerful or the player might find they'd rather keep the MacGuffin. Then use it to defeat the bad guy. If that happens, your entire campaign could be derailed. Regardless of what your MacGuffin is or what it does, I have to reiterate that the player characters must want to keep it. If push comes to shove, you may have to let slip that the MacGuffin is important to the resolution of the campaign, but that's only as a very last resort. I find it's very satisfying to let them get used to having the MacGuffin and then watch their faces as they realize they have to part with it to defeat the bad guy. So sometimes it's fun to be a little mean, But remember, MacGuffins can be a very important part of your game. How you design and handle them is very, very important. Sometimes it's something they have to quest for, but sometimes it's something that just happens to fall into their laps. If it's the latter, the secrecy of them not knowing its importance can be a nice surprise for them later. Just don't let them part with it because it can be disastrous. That dagger thing really threw the whole game for a loop, and rather than continue, they said screw it, and they went on and found something else to do. And I can't blame them, because they had no idea where to even start looking for that dagger. I honestly don't recall where they sold it. So, at any rate, just be aware of your MacGuffin status. That's all I'm saying. You folks have a good one. I hope this helps. I'm not trying to tell you how to run your game. I'm trying to help people to run better games. I've been doing this a long time. I've made lots of mistakes. Learn from my mistakes. I hope that, but feel free to use, abuse, or ignore my advice. No, as long as everybody's having fun, you're doing it right. You folks have a good one now. God bless one and all. We elect cookie-cutter politicians every single election cycle. Yes men who maintain the status quo and do just enough to make us believe the system still works. Imagine, if you will, a president who actually tries to fix things. If you like action, political intrigue, and a righteous crusade, check out my political thriller, The Righteous President.